Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver now.
RoadToRuta.com. Lots about silver coming up. But first, looking at when is a good day for a couple big banks to fail. The FDIC announced a couple years ago in a meeting that they were waiting for a good 3-day long weekend. 3-day weekend so that they can close, I don't know what bank. They had specific banks in mind, probably a big chunk of them, trying to save the system. The derivative market is imploding as we speak. $3 quadrillion in derivatives going sideways. So my bet, they'll try to orchestrate some kind of a takeover, wind down, controlled type implosion of a biggie, like JP Morgan, for example, or especially because of the Jeffrey Epstein ties. Those ties are, you can't refute them. Senior management of JP Morgan was involved with Epstein, both business-wise and extracurricular activity-wise. And this has to do with, yes, the president, as well as many of the board members, supposedly. Now, that's what came out in the case down in the Bahamas, I think it was, or somewhere down there. So check out that connection, because you can't expose what went on with Epstein without exposing their only banking relationship, J.P. Morgan Chase. So is there a wind down? Is there a wind down of the J.P. Morgan Chase global phenomenon? J.P. Morgan Chase owns and controls everything out there in the banking world, the largest bank in the world, and knee deep in Epstein. That's a problem, huge problem. They were his only banker. They were funneling him the cash to enable, as well as meeting at his house in New York City, and also down at the island. So I know they fired the guy who had the direct relationship, but that guy reported Jamie Dimon and the board. So yeah, and there was all kinds of business ties there. Turned out Epstein was one of the biggest deal producer for J.P. Morgan on their private equity side. It's just huge. And the more we hear about Epstein, the more we get closer to the end of the most criminal bank on the planet, J.P. Morgan Chase. And they just happen to have 50 to 60 trillion dollars in derivatives that will go bad. That's counterparties to everybody. So it is a big deal. So the next 3-day weekend we're looking at is May 26th. Do I think it'll happen that soon? I do have a jump in the emotional tension language from Cliff High. He gave me we posted this little chart of when things are going to pop off. So at the beginning of, hold on May 26th would be the last week in May. It jumps from 79 to, 93 emotional tension. That's a huge jump. Wait, no, that's June. May 65 to 75. So something big is coming. Will they close down a bank or two on the 3-day weekend of May 26th? I don't know. We will find out. Let's talk silver. As I told private road members, I posted my Ted Butler analysis. If you go to roadtoruta.com on the private road side, Bix Weir channels his inner Ted Butler to explain what the Silver Riggers want to do next. Private road members, go check that out. It's important, and you'll understand why this is happening right here. This little bumping around between $30 and $35, and everybody's like, which way will it break? There's only one way for it to break, if it's going to break, and that's up. If it breaks down, India, China, Russia, everybody and their mother loads up on physical. This game has nothing to do with the retail buyer. Retail buyers and sellers, the stackers, we're tiny players. We're talking in the billions and billions of dollars that India is going to import and China is going to import in silver. And our friend Jeff Christian came out with something ridiculous recently, which I'll go over in just a second here. So we are at over 100 to 1 gold-silver ratio. Obviously, it's time. If you love gold, swap all your gold for silver, then swap back when it goes to 7 to 1, 6 to 1, probably 1 to 1, and maybe even 1 to 10 in the extreme when they announce there's massive amounts of gold out there. It'll be interesting, very interesting. Another thing, if we do have a banking collapse, the requirement of these banks is to sell all their assets to cover the losses. So what assets do banks like JP Morgan and HSBC and Citibank have? They have a lot of gold. I don't think they have any silver. JP Morgan leased all their silver out. That's gone. I don't think it's coming back. But they have a lot of gold, so they'll all be selling gold. Not that the price, the selling of physical gold changes the gold price at all. It doesn't. Gold's just like silver. It is priced on the derivative market, and that's it. So, yeah, who knows? We could have a collapse in the banking system where all the banks sell all their gold, which is massive amounts of gold that they've accumulated over the last 10 years, and the price of gold doesn't change, or it goes up. So they can sell it at a higher price, because price is determined on the derivatives market, which is controlled mainly by the U.S. Treasury. The U.S. Treasury can pull the plug. Vinny Viola of Virtu Financial runs all the computer rigging models, banks trading back and forth with each other to rig the price. It's all rigged. There's nothing that's not rigged on this planet anymore when it comes to free markets. And that's my only beef with Trump is, hey, Trump, you want a free America, you have to have free markets. You want a golden age for humanity and America going forward? Get your ass out of rigging the silver and gold markets. We know you're in there. All your guys. Bassett, why do you think they put Bassett in that spot? He's George Soros' rigger. So, yeah, it'll be interesting the way this all shakes out. But in the meanwhile, we can see what the bankers are doing by analyzing the commitment of traders report, the way Ted Butler did, which I did for the private room. Go check that out. Anyway, so yeah, we got silver. You notice it got slammed right on after the Tuesday close. So if you look at the week, Tuesday was up here, and then it got slammed right after the Tuesday close. Why? That's when they have to start reporting each week for the commitment of traders. So it goes from the open on Wednesday to the close on Tuesday. And then they slam it, they play their derivative games, and then they try to cover their tracks a little bit by the next time it starts. 90 to 95% of all these trades, every trade of silver, is a derivative banksters trading back and forth with each other. And they'll give up losses on silver, and they'll take they'll earn it back on gold, and they report them under the same category of precious metals. Oh, by the way, Jeffrey Christian announced that silver is no longer a precious metal. No longer has any bearing. The investment demand doesn't even matter. That's what Jeffrey Christian said. I'll get to that in a second. It's just crazy. Crazy world. All right. Something very interesting happened today. We are in, 8th? 8th? May 8th, we have, and 8 days into the delivery, and look what happened. Woo! Somebody stood for 146 contracts and added 73 contracts. So net, we're still at 5 million contracts to be delivered, and we're at like 68 million ounces. So instead of 70 million ounces that were called for delivery in the beginning of this month, we're looking more like probably 75, and it's climbing. You don't see this very often. This is almost, 700,000 ounces of silver stood for delivery just out of the blue. And you can do that on the comics. You can go in, you can buy a contract and stand for delivery. Even more exciting is what they will show tomorrow. So these numbers are for yesterday, for Wednesday, and today is Thursday. But look what happened this morning. 230 contracts, which is over 1 million ounces. Now, what's going on? If somebody's taking 1 million ounces a day additional for this month, with, not even halfway through the month, we could be looking at even 80. Could we be looking at 80 million ounces potentially? If you can take 1 million a day, you could hit that. So, yeah, very interesting times on the comics. So the way you could tell is the open interest either gets added to or subtracted from. This is for the May contract. This is the contract that's being delivered right now. We're already at about 68 million ounces. With this new stuff, probably 70, 69 to 70. And then if they keep taking 1 million a day, who knows? This could be the major push, because we do have a fairly quick turnaround on the next delivery month. There's only 1 month in between. So June is not a delivery month for silver, but July is. So, after the 4th of July, we might be looking at freedom from silver manipulation. Who knows? Who knows? We won't be free until the COMEX shuts down. And it will at some point. It'll shut down. But it shouldn't matter. It's just futures and options. Who gives a shit about futures and options, right? But that's how they set the price. That's the only pricing mechanism the planet has for silver. It's very sad and embarrassing. Anyway, who went in there and bought the 1 million ounces? Let's take a look. It was BMO Capital again. So that's probably a delivery they have to make to one of their customers on one of the Bank of America derivatives on the leased silver from JP Morgan. Does this all end up in Warren Buffett and Elon Musk's hands? Probably. I think that's the game. But who knows? Who knows on that? But again, there's about 1,000 contracts left, and we're currently at 13,581, which is about 68 million ounces. Plus the 1,000 contracts would be 73 million, not counting anything new coming in. And clearly something came in for tomorrow morning. 230 contracts right here. That's pretty cool. I mean, I like it. Overall, who's the big deliverer this month? It's kind of spread out, but it's a lot of banks. Obviously, JP Morgan customer, that's BlackRock, in my opinion. I don't know which side they're on, because JP Morgan customers stopped 5,000 contracts, which is 25 million ounces. That means they took possession of it, but they gave up half that, so 12.5 million ounces, was issued. But here's a big Morgan Stanley out of the blue again. I wouldn't be surprised if July we see Morgan Stanley pony up almost 3,000 contracts, 15 million ounces on one of their structured deals. Keep an eye out for that. And why do I say that? It's right here, because March and May, they took delivery of about that much, close to 3,000 contracts, 15 million ounces. And they did it for a reason. And normally that reason is they wrote some kind of covered call bullshit silver delivery contract for July, and they're just stocking up for July. That's my take, at least. Very interesting that Wells Fargo was a huge issuer of 10 million ounces. I don't see anything in the past that says they had to make that. But look what happened. Is the last 2 months they took it off, and then because they knew they had to pony up the silver. So it's pretty easy to tell what's going on. They don't have the silver, so it was naked before this. Before March, they were naked about 10 million ounces, and they bought and they got over 10 million ounces, and then they just made the delivery. They'll probably make some more deliveries this month, potentially. Interesting that we have HSBC house account. I thought they were banned from dealing in precious metals, but I guess not. Rules change if you don't enforce them. But they have always been the biggest deliverer, and this time their house account, they took 5 million ounces. Big shell games going on in the warehouses and things like that. The big one, though, is BMO. Look at that. Almost 15 million ounces that they took for their house account. That's huge. That's really huge. Is that even right? Yeah. Wow. 15 million. BMO Capital. Look out, BMO. Somebody's going to come after you. Macquarie. Look at that. Took delivery of 2,358 contracts for the house account. That's that's about 11.5 million ounces. But look where it came from. It came from themselves, from a customer into theirs, about half of it. And then there's Goldman. This is an anomaly. Why does Goldman Sachs customer? My gut tells me these are all Warren Buffett structured deals that are coming due now, and they'll have to keep delivering the metal until these contracts all expire, probably by the end of the year. But who knows? Remember, Buffett has divested himself of Bank of America, I think all of Bank of America stock. It was all part of the same deal when JP Morgan leased 1.2 billion ounces to Bank of America. Jenny Moonstone helped us figure that one out. And yeah, I'll be talking to Jenny later today. I'll post that for private road members. Lots to talk about when it comes to silver. All right, let's listen to Jeffrey Christian spin his bullshit. Remember, Jeffrey Christian's main customers are JP Morgan Chase, HSBC, the banking cabal. Jeffrey has been years saying, no, there's no silver deficit. No. There's no silver deficit. Even though the Silver Institute, not that they're the bastion of truth, they get their numbers from Metals Focus. They're coming up with a silver deficit every year because they include the dual nature of silver. Silver is an industrial metal, yes. It's also a monetary metal. At times when you need monetary metals, it is the most important monetary metal. And by hiding the fact that it is a monetary metal because of the price suppression, Jeffrey Christian has himself declared the monetary side doesn't matter. It absolutely doesn't. It matters in gold, apparently, but it doesn't matter in silver. Let's hear him talk his bullshit as to why there's no deficit.
You can see these large swaths of buying and selling. Buying in the 60s, selling in the 70s, buying in the 80s, selling from 1990 until about 2005. And since 2006, net buying. Those surpluses are calculated in total supply, mine production and secondary recovery, less fabrication demand. We do not include investment demand because investment demand doesn't use silver. The silver that investors buy stays as silver, readily saleable back into the market, as we've seen over the last 18 months.
So if he doesn't include investment demand in his supply-demand dynamics, he is basically saying that there is no such thing as investment silver. Everybody's holding their silver to give at some point to the industrial side, period, exclamation point. I wonder how he analyzes gold, because 99% of the gold goes for investment demand. Is there no supply-demand issues? Jeffrey Christian has he's bought and paid for, obviously. He's challenged in many ways, and he is the mouthpiece of the banking cabal. It's been obvious for those of us in the industry. I remember debating with him on the stage. We didn't directly debate. I wish I could have in the Bill Murphy Jeffrey Christian debate, where he said, you just got to understand how the market works. Everything rolls over. And I'm like sitting there in the audience saying, wait a minute, that's illegal. It's illegal for the price of derivatives to set the price of gold and silver. And yet Jeffrey Christian, in his debate with Bill Murphy, that's exactly what he says. Every contracts are rolled over. That's why the price goes down at these times. I'm like, it is illegal in commodity law for the COMEX to determine or influence even price to any kind of degree. And yet that's what it does. That's actually the main function of silver derivatives. It's not to hedge your silver holdings, it's to control the price of silver through market manipulation. And he basically said it. Bill Murphy missed that point in that debate. And then I was on stage on a panel with Jeff Christian, and he said the same thing. I said, that's the problem. Jeff is correct that the rollover is what's helping rig the price, but that is illegal under U.S. commodity law. And he was like, blah, 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 ridiculous guy. Anyway, so Jeff says that investment demand does not count for silver. And I would say it counts more than any other demand. Yes, industrial is great. If silver was freely traded and the price was up $200, $300, $400, where it should be, maybe $500, $600, $700, probably 7-to-1 ratio right now, if it was in a level playing field. Ultimately, I think it'll go to 1-to-1 because there's 6 billion ounces of each above ground that might come into the market. And that might is a big thing. Basically, Jeff Christian's saying that every single ounce, or he's saying half of it, half of the silver's been lost of the 60 billion that have been mined. He's saying half have been lost. The rest is all available for the industrial side. I say bullshit. I think the investment side is so much more important than the industrial side for a lot of items. I don't think we should be putting 200 million ounces of silver into flat screen TVs. I mean, into solar panels. No, we shouldn't. It's misallocation because of the price suppression. Now, people like Jeff Christian and Metals Focus would tell you, no, Bix, it's only 100 million ounces. And I said, no, you're full of shit. You changed all the last numbers in 2023, and you continue to bullshit. The problem is that the silver riggers are missing, and the guys like Jeff Christian and Metals Focus and Silver Institute. The problem is they're being called out because of the requirements for solar installations to report to the government exactly how much solar panel megawatts, gigawatts are being installed. And so we have those numbers. So we know in 2023, the amount of solar went up 76 to 78%. And we know that the Metals Focus lied when they said it only went up 36%. It was a lie. Or 38%. It was a lie. And they had to change historical numbers to foster that lie. Over a year and a half ago now. And it's hard. It is very hard to refute these people who say they're the experts, because there's nobody out there doing it. You know, if you really want to know how much silver is being used right now in solar panels, if you really want to know the exact number, you'll never know the exact number, but if you really want to know, what you do is you go out and take the most popular, let's say the 10 most popular industrial solar panels, which is most of it's going into industrial, and then you figure out how much silver is in each one of those. And you're going to find out the amount of silver used in all of that. My power just went out. Oh, I think it's the light of I have a battery-powered camera. Anyway, yeah. And I was going to do it, and then I get to these points in silver. It's like, okay, I figured it out, and then I'll talk about it, and it doesn't make any difference. You know, the JP Morgan Chase gets busted for market manipulation in 2019, and what happens? Nothing. And that's the problem. People have like a 5-minute memory. Jeff Christian still says, anybody who says the precious metals markets are manipulated or tinfoil hat people, even though we have all the emails and texts back and forth from these traders rigging the silver market and the gold market, and it's part of the record within the DOJ. And we have all of it. Yeah, of course it's RICO charges, because some of the banks weren't JP Morgan. And they are colluding with each other to control the price of silver. So what did JP Morgan do? They did what they should have done. We'll agree to spoofing, but that's it. And then the government wanted to get out of it, obviously. So they said, okay, we'll take it, but we're going to charge you the largest fine in history, $920 million. And they said, okay, that's fine. JP Morgan, okay, that's fine. And so they get a hit by $920 million. The same year, they booked a gain in precious metals of $1 billion to offset it. So they still made $80 million. That's how crooked these people are. So Jeff Christian, ridiculous. But I love looking at Jeff Christian's data, because they always drag him out when things are when there's a problem with inventories and trouble, for him to say, no, we have millions of ounces of inventory. I think he said 20. He had it back here. He believes there's let's see, right here, the losses. So he believes there's about 30 million ounces. And look at the bullion. Like look at the coins, 2.3 billion ounces. So that I looked at sovereign coins because they keep track of that, and I asked Google, okay, here's my question. What is the total amount of silver used in sovereign coinage made by all the national mints in the last 100 years? Please include all denominated coinage, including silver eagle. And well, what was the ultimate answer? 6.15 billion troy ounces. And so they go through each one. How much? And obviously the Silver Eagle, I was really interested in. They made about 670 million troy ounces. Now they had to figure out like some of the coins are not fully silver, so it went out. I mean, they did all the calculations. I love AI. So the answer of coinage is 6.15, and yet you look at Jeff Christian. He said coins is 2.346. Jeff, your numbers are way off, dude. And this is publicly available information that AI ran out and got, in a blink of an eye. Did everything else get melted? It's very, 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 very low probability that a lot of silver coinage has been melted. There's a lot that's been lost over the years because, we used to use it as money. But for the majority of it, because it has higher premium than all the other stuff you can melt, like jewelry and silverware and silver tea sets. The majority of sovereign silver coins are still available, over 6 billion ounces, and Jeffrey counts that as inventory, which is bullshit. So yeah, so Jeff says the amount of bullion is 3 billion ounces. I guess he's just adding up all the warehouse. We all know J.P. Morgan double counts its silver holdings, and he counts his SLV holdings plus everything in their warehouse they say is available, and it's not. J.P. Morgan is just the custodian of SLV. It's not the owner, and so it's double counted in those. And same with the LBMA is probably triple counted. Nobody knows what's going on over there. But Jeff says all this is going to come back into the market. The jewelry, the decorative, the religious objects, 26 million ounces are coming back into the market because that's basically in a form that's readily available for industrial use. So there is no deficit. And I'm like, oh my God, you cannot be serious. Metals Focus does a better job of this and shows the deficits that have been going on since 2021. Now, these are larger than what they say, especially in 2023. It's at least 150 million ounces more, but hey, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And they're trying to make it go away, and there's just it's not happening because they continue to make more and more solar panels. I mean, that is not stopping. Go to roadtoruta.com, go to the public road, the very first page, and after you listen to those cool videos, see these red numbers right here? That's all the numbers that the Silver Institute and Metals Focus changed in 2020 for the 2023 report. Solar was up 76%, and yet they said the silver was only up 38%. Had they changed it properly, they would have seen there's an extra 100 million that they did not count. But look at this. Look where we are. 2024, we did 600 gigawatts DC of solar panels, and the projection is, I think it's 700, but right now they have it at 670. That's massive amounts of silver used in solar panels going all the way out for another 10 years at least. And are they making breakthroughs in reducing the amount of silver? Absolutely. Are they being implemented? Absolutely not. Why? Because nobody can afford, in solar where there's so much manufacturing capacity, nobody can afford to change over to the new style. And because silver price is so low still, there's no need to. They all will, sooner or later go to a less reliable way to make solar panels if solar even continues. Anyway, it's kind of crazy. Jeff Christian, kind of crazy. But just ask AI how much sovereign coinage has been produced, and you'll come up with 6.15 billion ounces. And Jeff Christian had 2.3. For Jeff Christian, even taking the bullion plus the coins, he only comes up with 5.5. So the COMEX bars counts in the bullion, and LBMA bars counts in the bullion. And that's just crazy. These numbers are so wrong but somehow he gets away with it because there's nobody out there looking at this stuff. The next closest thing to So this is the Silver Institute we know is a fraud, and they get their numbers from Metals Focus, who I don't think they're as big a fraud, other than they went back and changed that number for the 2023 because it was so glaringly obvious that their numbers were bad. And you can see it right here. Every one of these red boxes had been changed to make it look like only 38% of they showed a rise of 64, but only because they changed the 2022 numbers. Had they stayed with the same 2022 numbers, they would have showed a rise of 76%. And they can't tell people that because they'd have to explain how the amount of silver went up 76%. Silver used in solar panels went up 76%, and they came up with half of that. So yeah, it's crazy. Who knows? I think they could come up with, I think they said 210 million ounces for solar this year, and it's probably off by 1 or 200 million. Probably half, but we don't know. Again, if you really want to know the answer, go out and buy the best solar panels that are being installed. The solar panels that are being installed the most. Pick the top 3 manufacturers, their most popular solar panels, and then do an individual melt on each one, recycling, and see exactly how much silver you're going to get. And it's not a lot, by the way, on a panel per panel basis. But when you're talking about massive amounts, I mean, you're going to be, it depends on the size of the panel. It depends on the gigawatts, all the type of panel. Pretty much, I think it's 80 or 90% now is TopCon, changing over to something that uses even more silver. But there is a way to make solar panels with similar efficiency, which is the big thing, because this is it's a 30 or 40 year asset, truthfully. There is a way to use less silver, but the other components are even more expensive. So they're going to use silver until they can't run the manufacturing lines, and then they'll probably switch over when silver goes to $500 an ounce. They're not going to use silver in solar. They'll either stop making solar or they'll figure out another way to do it, and it probably won't be as efficient. So really, really interesting times. Don't believe the price of silver is a joke. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing that my country, the United States of America, has the most rigged markets on the planet. And nobody knows it. The stock market is completely rigged. The bond market is completely rigged. All this came from the origins of computer market manipulation with the programs written by Alan Greenspan in the 1960s and 70s that created our electronic financial system. Yes, it was Alan Greenspan blamed himself for the Y2K problem. So his mentor, Arthur Burns, the head of the Fed, had Alan implement first build the system, and it wasn't just him, build the electronic monetary system, and then build the control mechanisms, the trading programs, the derivative market, which was really created that type of derivative market was created in the 70s as well. And that's how they could allow the price of gold and silver to be, quote, freely traded, because they can rig it from the background. And we have proven it time and time again. So, yeah. Buy your physical silver. Get it in your own possession. If they do take out J.P. Morgan at some point, it will probably correspond with Epstein, and that's mass chaos. And that's the largest bank in the world going down, has $50 trillion in derivatives. There's no way the FDIC can manage that. So I don't know why they want a 3-day weekend. If they think they can manage it, good luck with that. So. As far as Bitcoin hits 100,000, great stuff for Bitcoin. Cryptos are the future. Who knows how they'll react when the system melts down. There won't be exchanges open, so you won't know the price of Bitcoin. You won't know the price of anything for a while. So place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. I say definitely have physical silver through the chaos. And then I like Bitcoin. It's okay. But I think the more important technological advances are going to be happening decentralized with AI. So that's why I like Theta, and especially Theta Fuel over Theta. It's 20 to 1. It's kind of like silver being 100 to 1. Not as drastic, but I think Theta, especially when the upgrade comes in June. I think it's the 24th or 28th of June. And everybody and their mother is going to be using that hybrid edge cloud, meaning the transactions are going to increase by multiples, meaning every T-fuel that gets used in the transaction, part of that is burned. So the difference between the availability and the supply of T-fuel versus Theta is going to contract. Meaning, I think T-fuel is going to do better than Theta. They should both do well because it's an amazing technology, and it is a technology. I mean, Theta is a download. Every Samsung phone on the planet you can have a download onto your Samsung TV, and Samsung is partners with Theta along with Google and Amazon Cloud and even Microsoft Accenture, which is their cloud storage service. Those are the three biggies, supposedly. And they're all partners with Theta on the decentralized side. And everybody says we're going to a decentralized world. So, yeah, if you don't have it, get it. Get it. We're giving away, if you're not into cryptos, you don't want to think about it, we are giving away one paper wallet filled with 10 Theta, 100 T-Fuel, and 1,000 T-Drop for every private road subscription, and we mail that to your front door. Just stick it in your vault with your silver, your stacks and stacks of physical silver. Go to your local coin shop to buy your silver. If you don't have a local guy, contact Andy Scheckman at Miles Franklin, info@Miles Franklin. Go to our affiliate site. It'll show you down at the bottom there, Miles Franklin. And Caleb and Brown for cryptos. If you don't know anything about cryptos, contact Caleb and Brown. And for silver, Miles Franklin is who we recommend. All right? That's what I got for you. This is Bix Weir, roadroo.com. I'll be talking to Jenny Moonstone, posting out on the private road later today. We'll be talking about a lot of good stuff. I'll talk to you later.